What is up, guys? Happy Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. I don't think what day it is. It's been so hard to keep track with everything going on. So, in case you get, if you guys didn't read the link or the bio of this video, this is about stretching. Okay, um, you know, and there's a lot of kind of misconceptions about stretching. What are the actual benefits of stretching? Um, when to stretch, when not to stretch, and stuff like that. Okay, so um, pretty much I'm gonna start with when to stretch. Okay, and there's a couple of different types of stretches. So I'm gonna talk about static stretching. So that means like static means I'm holding it. Okay, so a static stretch would be like this trap stretch. I just lean here, hold it for 30 seconds, and then rest. Where dynamic stretching, as the name implies, there's more movement in it. Okay, so you're not just holding, you're kind of flowing. Okay, so kind of like our rotations, our T-spine rotations, we're not just sitting and holding on a muscle. All right. So again, for the sake of this video, when I say stretching, I mean static stretching. So just holding it for a certain amount of time and trying to get a result. Okay. So when to stretch. Now, if you guys ever played sports in high school or anything like that, you always had your coach bring you through this long stretching routine. Before the game, before practice, holding and all that stuff here. Okay. Some minor static stretching is fine if it's your trouble area. However, there is some evidence that said, if let's say I'm squatting today, okay, that's my core lift, and I am stretching the crap out of my hip flexors, out of my quad, out of my calves, out of my back, all this stuff. I'm lengthening that muscle and I'm losing like its elasticity and its like rigidity. And you want to a certain extent, you want that elasticity and rigidity to keep you injury free. Okay, think of like a rubber band that's just all stretched out and no longer has its strength. It's just like a piece of string now. Okay, so if you overstretch, you may open yourself up for injury. That's why if you guys kind of look at what we do in the warm-ups versus what we do after the workouts. In the warm-ups, there might be one or two like static stretches, but it mostly revolves around dynamic stuff, activation, so like plank activating the core, mobility, like the T-spine rotations, stuff like that. That is what we do before the workout, okay? Because we're loosening everything up, we're making sure some weak areas are activating so we don't get hurt, but we're not going crazy with static stretching, because it does open you guys up for injury, okay? So that but after a workout is fine. Okay, let's say we just did shoulder press, so our traps might be tight, our anterior delts, the front of our shoulder might be tight. So that's a good time to do one of these stretches. Put your hand on the wall, reach back because it's post workout. Okay, so a lot of coaches or people, if you just go to the gym by yourself and you just think, oh, let me just bang out 20 minutes of stretching before I work out, you may be opening yourself up to a risk of injury. Okay, so it's more important to do that static later on. All right, and then also some people are stretching the wrong muscles. Okay, and what I mean by that is if you guys watch my previous videos, I mentioned there's like a relationship between two muscles. Okay, muscles have opposing muscles. If one is tight, the other one's weak. Okay, and weak means lengthened out, and tight means like shortened. Okay, and so some people don't know which muscles, due to posture and lifestyle, what muscles are naturally short and tight, and what muscles are naturally lengthened and weak. Okay, I brought this up, and I think it was my pelvis video. For example, a lot of people think they have tight hamstrings. Okay, because if they go back and feel their legs, it feels pulled. Okay, however, in actuality, again, if you want more detail, go to the pelvis video I made. Danny sent it out on the emails and stuff, so you guys should be able to find it. Due to the way that your pelvis is tilted because of poor posture, that is why your hamstrings feel tight. Okay, so stretching them more because they feel tight, you're actually making the issue worse. Okay, if instead you were to strengthen your glutes, strengthen your core, work on that pelvic tilt, that tightness will go away, or go away a little bit. So there's some muscles you really don't need to stretch. Another one is your back, your mid back. Yes, we do some lower back stretches, like going down, you're rounding your toes, touching your back, or doing the child's pose when you guys lean to one side. But our mid back and even kind of our upper back is pretty weak and lengthened anyways. So there's really there's not a great there's not a great reason to stretch that. Now for one area that's good for stretching is the lat. Okay, right here. Okay, it kind of creeps into the back as well. Some people that have really tight lats are people that have a hard time pressing overhead and also have a hard time staying upright when they squat. Okay, everything is so tight, it's kind of pulling them down forward. So that obviously that's a back muscle. And I said don't go crazy stretching back muscles, but the lats are a good one to stretch. Again, there are some muscles that you don't really need to stretch. Okay, you really don't need to stretch your glutes. It's kind of hard to stretch your glutes anyways. The only stretch that I really like that's kind of close to stretching your glutes is the one where you guys cross your leg over, reach your hands through, and rock to your back. But what that's really stretching is your piriformis, which is kind of the top of your butt. It's not a glute muscle, okay? It's a different muscle, and that's really tight. But the glute itself isn't a really tight, overactive muscle group, so it does not need endless hours of stretching. So just going through a crazy amount of stretching isn't that beneficial. Like if you guys even look at our the mobility sessions, yeah, there's a little bit of stretching, but those stretches are on those really tight muscles. But then it goes into more mobility stuff, more of that movement, more of the activation. Okay, it's not just 30 minutes of pull your forearm back until it feels good. Okay, so again, a little bit of stretching is good, but don't go crazy with it, and you got to be mindful of what you're actually stretching. Okay, and then also another thing is treating an injury or a ache isn't as simple as just stretching it. Okay, so oh, I gotta my shoulder hurts, let me just pull it back and twist and yank and try to figure a stretch out. Okay, you may be tight in that area, and that tightness may be causing some pain. However, there's a good chance that one, if something's tight, something else is weak. You gotta work on strengthening that. Okay, so just a real quick example. Okay, a lot of people have their pecs or their chest muscle and their anterior deltoid, so the front of their shoulder, are very tight, which causes them to hunch over. Okay, and then the rear part of their shoulder and their upper back are weak. Okay, so I'm here and I'm hunched over. My shoulder is in an unnatural position, and now I try to press overhead. I'm like, man, my shoulders hurt. Okay, pressing hurts, push-ups hurt, floor press hurt, anything like that. Those hurt. So let me just stretch. Okay, well, stretching will help a little bit. However, my posture sucks. So as I'm lifting, I gotta make sure I'm doing this. So now my shoulders are in a natural position to press much better. And like I mentioned earlier, I have to strengthen those weak muscles. Okay. So, thinking that, oh, this hurts, so just let me stretch it and I'm cured, isn't really right. Again, because there's a lot of factors in why something hurts or doesn't feel right. It's not just tightness. All right. So really, if you guys do have an ache and pain, try to figure out, okay, when does it hurt? And then try to be like, okay, if whether you ask, you guys can ask us, be like, hey, when I do this exercise, this hurts. So I'll make it simple. Okay. When I squat, my knees hurt. Very common for a lot of people. Okay. Now, what am I going to say? Yes, you can. So there, in people that have issues with squatting, they may have really tight TFLs, so the front of their hips, their hip flexors, tight quads, then tight calves. So they could stretch that a little bit, get a good lengthening in there. However, on that same side, they have weak glutes, weak hamstrings, the weak tibialis, which is the small strip of muscle that runs on your shin, and also people generally have weak feet, especially like arches collapsing. So for me, like I have high arches. All right, you guys, if you guys see me walk, I do walk pigeon toe. Especially my left foot turns in. When I was younger, I had orthotics to support my arch, because my arch collapsed, because that muscle is weak. Okay. Now, if that arch is collapsed, my knees might cave in. And we all know the bad thing about our knees caving in when we squat. So, if you say, hey, David, why, my knees are hurting while I'm squatting. Again, it's not a perfect answer. You may have there may be a different reason. However, I'm not just going to say, stretch out your TFL, stretch out your calves. I'm going to say, okay, let's strengthen your glutes. Let's strengthen your hamstrings. Let's strengthen your tibialis. Let's strengthen your arches. And let's work on some hip mobility. Let's work on some ankle mobility. Let's work on some knee stability. Okay. It's trying to diagnose or is much more, I don't know if complicated is the right word, but there's more moving parts than just simply stretching. All right. There's one more thing I wanted. I'm having a brain fire. I was thinking about taking notes. But really, those are kind of the main things about stretching. Again, stretching isn't the devil. Okay. There are times and places for stretching. However, doing 1,000 hours of stretching before you work out is probably not a great idea. Never mind. What is as well as you got to work on posture, you got to work on movement, you got to work on those weak muscles. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how long stretching really lasts. So what do I mean by that? So let's say if I'm trying to stretch the TFL, that hip flexor, I stretch it for 45 seconds. All right. Usually you got to stretch for at least 30-ish seconds to actually get it an actual stretch. So let's say I hold it for a little bit extra. So I'm holding it for 45 seconds. I do both sides. My muscle, for a temporary amount of time, my hip flexors will be stretched out. Okay. So, whatever I'm doing, if I'm about to, for example, okay, here's the thing, if you're on a road trip, okay, you're driving for 15 hours and you are you are all, hunched up in your car. You get to a gas station, you get to, a food stop, to, get something relaxed, and you stretch for a little bit because your hips are super, super tight and cranky right now. It will help a little bit, but holding that stretch won't hold for a long time. Okay. So, if you're trying to stretch away an injury, you always have this reoccurring issue. And you think, well, I keep stretching it and it's not getting better. It's because a stretch doesn't last that long. Okay. I mean, you got to think about it. Muscles have a degree of like elasticity and rubber band and like a trampoline kind of, and they're going to kind of snap back in place. So you can't just expect that, if I stretch, I'll be fine. Okay. No. So again, I'll keep using the glute and hip example just because it's fairly relevant for most people. Is that if I'm having this hip tightness, yes, I can stretch. However, what I really should work on as well is getting stronger in those weak muscles. So the glute and the abductor, kind of the outside of your hip. Okay. Work on that, and also work on hip mobility. So doing things like the fire hydrants when you guys are on your hands and knees and you open your knee out, kind of like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Or I've done them before. They're kind of if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I can if you're interested, a comment and I'll find a video that shows it. But you guys are in that 90-90 stretch and you transfer side to side. You bring your knees back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's a little bit more challenging, but it gets that good hip mobility. So that if you really want to, work on or, solve an issue, you have to keep in mind that stretching by itself won't fix it, that you're going to need to do more. You're going to need to work on some activation of those weak muscles in the mobility or, the mobility in the joints that need to be mobile or the stability in the joints that need to be stable to really get that benefit. Okay. Again, our mobility sessions are designed very well. They are not just stretches. Okay. It's a little bit of stretching, but again, it's those tight muscles. But then we're going to move on to the activation and the mobility, which is, it comes full circle. Being flexible or mobile is more than just a stretch. Okay. So, don't panic if you do a couple stretches. I don't want you guys all of a sudden, freaking out. Oh my God, I stretched. I stretched today at the mobility session. My body's going to fall apart. No, don't worry. take a Xanax, relax. You do not need to panic. Okay, again, a stretch here and there for a couple minutes is fine, but some people think more is better with this stretching. If I just keep doing it, my problems will go away. And then, there's I wanted to, there's one more point I wanted to touch on. Um, Man, this is gonna drive me insane. Well, give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm sorry. I was thinking about taking notes, but I decided against it. Um, hmm, Whatever. I'll pop back in my head. So again, guys, you know, really pay attention to what you're stretching and how you're stretching. If you guys have questions about stretching, that's what we're here for. Okay, we're trainers where we know about the body, we know what needs to be stretched, what doesn't need to be stretched. We know some good stretches. And that's for some of you guys. I know I have fallen this habit. We may do the same stretches a lot of the workouts. It's because certain muscles are always going to be tight. You know, I can almost guarantee with me every workout you'll either stretch your hips with the kneeling hip flexor stretch, one knee up, one knee down, and lean forward, or that stretch where you cross that leg over and lean on your back. Okay. There may be a workout when I don't do it. Maybe if it's like a cardio and core day, and whatever the exercise word doesn't really matter with those muscles. But odds are that's what I'll always do. Because there's a couple. You don't need 1,000 different stretches. Stick to the ones that work. Stick to the ones that target the muscles that need to be stretched. Um, you know, that's why I like to stick with them. There's no reason to go crazy, start stretching our ears to think that's going to make anything better. Um, so again, if you guys have any questions about this, again, stretching is we've all done it, gym class in school. And when we go, if you've ever gone to like a big box gym, at your, by yourself, oh, I'm about to do, let me get everything going real quick. Everyone's done it. But, uh, you know, we got to emerge, or, get out of that old school thinking. There's more science, out there now that tells us about, you know, stretching, the risks, the benefits, what is really gonna, help us feel better, move better, have less injuries, recover from those injuries, what is really going to help us. Okay. There's one, gosh, I'm kicking myself right now. I'm trying to remember, the point I wanted to make. Um, It'll come. If I remember it, I'll drop a comment below for you guys. If you guys are interested. But yeah, I want it's about 20-minute video. I didn't want to make it. I had one video that was like an hour long. I didn't want to make it too crazy. But yeah, guys, again, stretching isn't the end all be all. Okay, it, again, some people may disagree with me and think, oh, stretching is the world's greatest thing. I would disagree. I lean more towards stretch a little bit, do some mobility stuff, like whatever you gotta do. Do the I like them. We don't really do them at the gym because we don't have a PVC pipes. But I like to take like a broomstick or a PVC. They're called shoulder dislocations. And you come here, you go all the way back. Like your shoulder will kind of pop. I can't do it without the stick. Your shoulder kind of pops back. You pop back in. Okay. You don't actually dislocate your shoulder. I mean, that'd be painful. Or actually dislocate. But I like that. And obviously the activation stuff, strengthen those weak muscles. You know, Again, everything's in moderation. More isn't necessarily better. Oh, this always hurts. Let me just keep cranking, stretching. Not the best idea. Um, so yeah, guys. Again, that is about it. Again, if you guys have any questions about it, let me know. If you're like, how often should I stretch this muscle? Again, it's not, it won't be, oh, you have to do it 3 times a day or 3 times a week. Okay. No, if you have, hip issues, maybe you have this routine, kind of like the mobility sessions. You go through a little bit of stretching. So you stretch that hip, the hip flexor, the TFL, the front, you stretch that groin, which, obviously we all know what groin is. We do some hip mobility. the fire hydrants, the 90-90 transfers, stuff like that. And we do the activation, like the bridges, like the squats, like the clamshells, like the donkey kicks, stuff like that. Um, so that to me is what I'm not sorry. Let me read your comment now. If you haven't heard this one bothering you, you should. Okay, so obviously, Melissa, I'm not a doctor, so I can't guarantee, you know, what this. So I'm gonna read the comment out loud, Melissa, just so if people can't see it, they know what I'm talking about. So if you have an area that is sore and bothering you, should you stretch it? My whole left leg is stiff and sore, and I have plantar fasciitis in my left foot. I've been trying to stretch it, thinking it might help. Nothing seems to be getting better. Okay. So, there's a couple. So I'll start with the plantar fasciitis. I'm very familiar with it. My dad had it really bad. My sister had it really bad, and then I used to get it pretty bad too. Especially when I played baseball, I had to wear cleats with the metal in it. They were horrible. Okay. Um, so one thing that I really liked for plantar fasciitis is rolling the bottom of the foot. You can use various things. Okay. One thing that my dad did a lot was like the 16-ounce water bottles frozen. He rolled that. For me, I like to really dig in more, so I use golf balls. Okay, it's a lot more painful. I don't know your pain tolerance, and so play around with the rolling that you do. Okay. Second, a lot of people have tight calves and Achilles anyways, and then it kind of swoops under the heel, and then you have the plantar, then it's just one big train wreck. Okay. So yeah, stretching a little bit will help the plantar fasciitis. To me, there's a couple main things to pay attention to instead. Is one, you can work on strengthening the tibialis, so that I can't get my leg high enough, but that the anterior tibialis, it's the front of the shin. Okay, so what you can do, the easiest one is just flex your toes up and try to squeeze your shins as hard as you can and hold that for like 45 seconds to a minute. Do that a couple times. Another one you can do, it's to me it's a little bit harder. It's more of a mobility one, which I'd also recommend. So it's less activation, and it's take your ankle or your foot and spell the alphabet. Okay. And that's just gonna help get some better ankle mobility. And for me, like if I do the O one way, when I do the Q, I'll do it the other way. Okay, that sounds kind of stupid. Like but I want to make sure the ankle and the foot is going through all different directions. I'm not just keep coming in one way, keep coming in the other way, keep coming. I want to make sure I'm bringing it. So work on that mobility. Okay. Again, some stretching will help, but there's definitely some weak muscles that are causing it. Also, it depends on kind of how you sit and stuff like that. So a lot of us, imagine. So if this is my heel, this is like the bottom of my foot, this is the top, this is my shin, and this is my calf. A lot of us stick our feet forward. Okay, so especially like stick your legs straight out, like if you're sitting on the couch. Okay, odds are your feet are flat on the ground and your shins are coming back. That is very passively tightening all those muscles. All right, so what you should do instead is sit up more. So your heel, like your knees are about a 90-degree angle, but your heels are more underneath you. So you're getting a very light stretch. You won't feel like a true pull, but you're like very passively stretching that the ankle in a kind of a better way. Another thing is my dad used to do them when we sleep. No matter if you sleep on your stomach or your back, your feet are pointing straight again. Okay, and think about it, if you sleep for 8 hours, you are locking your ankle in a bad position for 8 hours. That's that can be huge in terms of kind of getting that plantar fasciitis. They do make boots. Okay, they kind of look like snowboard boots, and if you put them on, they kind of angle your foot back, and you wear them at night, and they keep your feet from pushing forward too much. It might be a little uncomfortable to sleep in. It might take some getting used to. You can do them just sitting down. That's what my dad used to do. If you went to go watch TV, he'd throw those boots on to make sure his feet were staying in that position. So that's for the plantar fasciitis. That's what I would kind of recommend is strengthen that tibialis. You can do some stretching of the calf, and then if if you like YouTube like big toe stretch, when you just push your big toe in the floor and let the rest of your foot come up, that will also stretch the bottom of your foot. But I'd lean more towards the ankle mobility with the spelling the alphabet and the squeezing of the tibialis, and then also keeping your feet pulled back. Also, I'm not sure what you wear at work, but like high heels or anything with that like elevated, like that wedge, is also pushing your foot forward. Okay, so if you can, flats, and when you're at home, good flat tennis shoes, nothing with a super crazy heel. Okay, and then your whole left leg is stiff and sore. So, I mentioned in one of my videos, the whole body is a chain. So if one area is wrong, there's probably other areas going wrong. So what I would recommend is, strengthening your glutes and your abductors. So stuff like bridges, clamshells, when you lay on your side and you lift your legs straight up to the side lying hip abductions, strengthen those glutes. Strengthen those glutes. Work on some hip mobility stuff. So again, you can do the fire hydrants. If you don't know what those are, it's a very common exercise. If you YouTube it, hip fire hydrants, you're bound to find it. You can also do 90-90 transfers. That might be harder to find. So, if you don't know what that is, let me know and I'll make a video. And then, so strengthening the glute, and then the hip mobility stuff. And that may help, a little bit. But what also might be happening is, since it's one leg, is sometimes people have like a hip hike or a hip drop in a certain area. So what that means is, what should happen is like left pelvis, right pelvis. They should be equal. Okay. Some people just, because of whether it's an injury or just an imbalance, their hips might be like this. That's why some people say, oh, I have a long leg. Odds are you really don't have a long leg. Your femurs are probably the same length. It's just that one hip is hiked and one hip is dropped. And so you need to work on straightening those out. That's a little bit more complicated. If you YouTube, I can make a whole video on doing the hip hike. So if you just like Google or YouTube, working on hip hike, oh, my left hip is hiked or my left hip is dropped. It'll tell you, oh, this is tight, this is weak. Here's what to do instead. So that could be those main causes. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't like guarantee that this is what's going on. But that is what I would necessarily recommend. I'm glad it helped, Melissa. You are welcome. So again, guys, if you have any more questions, comment. Obviously, I'm doing this off my Facebook, so if you comment, I'll get the notification on my phone. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. And again, stretching is not the world's worst thing in the world, but is also not the world's saver, where every issue you have will be solved by stretching. Okay, there's a lot of other factors to consider in what's going on. And again, I know we do the mobility sessions, and again, that's not just pure stretching. So don't worry, I did one of the mobility sessions. I taught it like last week or 2 weeks ago. I see how they ran. It's not just static the whole time. A couple static is fine, just like what we do in the mobility, just like what we do at the end of the workouts. But going crazy with stretching, with I believe some people do, is problem and might risk injury. I'm glad you liked it, Melissa. Let me know. Hopefully, it works for you. It's a long process. I mean, my dad was very active throughout his whole life. And then when he got the plantar fasciitis, it definitely sidelined him. It's not something that will take a week. It will take, constant, practice, constant, activation and mobility and stuff like that, to, get through it. But you can do it. Be patient, trust the process, come out good in the end. All right, guys, so that is it. Thank you for watching this video. Again, comment below if you guys have any questions. I hope you guys found this useful. Again, I like making these videos. I like, giving you guys information. There's, again, we only have 45 minutes in the workout. So, we don't have time to go, into, great detail about all this stuff. So this is a lot of us are bored because we're at home. We want to break from our our family. We gotta go in our room and watch this video. So you're probably overwhelmed by too much of your husband or your wife, too much of your kids. You need a break. So take advantage of this break, guys. Again, I'll see you guys. Also, I'm more than if you guys have a suggestion about what you guys want to see, in terms of hey, I'm confused about this exercise. Can you make a video about it? or what do you think about this topic? Or, this trainer I see on Instagram said this, what do you think about it? Do you agree? Or what are your counter arguments? What is the Raw Fitness take on this issue? I'd love to hear your guys' suggestions. Again, I'm here to help you guys. So it's stupid if I make a video that has absolutely zero relevance to you guys. Like if I made a video about bodybuilding, it makes no sense to you guys. I'm 99% sure none of you guys want to be a bodybuilder. Get all the fake tan and go on stage and flex. I like that stuff, but it has no relevance for you guys. So I'm never going to make a video for you guys on bodybuilding. So, whatever, whatever topics you guys want to see, discussed, I'm an open book. Obviously, if it's like, hey, David, my eardrum popped. What do I do? There's some stuff, I don't know. I don't know about eardrum, but if it's something that I feel is in my wheelhouse, I will do it. I will not overstep my bounds. If I think something is beyond my knowledge, then I'll say, I'm sorry, I don't know much about this. I don't want to lead you guys the wrong direction. For example, obviously I'm not a chiropractor. So if someone says, hey, David, I have two vertebrae and they're crashed together. What should I do? I don't know. I can't tell you. I could probably say you should probably see a surgeon and get that looked at. But again, if I feel like it is something that I have knowledge about and that I have the right to speak on it, I'm more than happy to do that. So again, drop a comment below what you guys want to see. If you guys have any questions about this topic, again, it might be considered controversial because there's people that preach stretching. I happen to be, the opposing argument. That is it, guys. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time.